morning. Welcome to the Dothan Police Department, and thank you so much. We have so many important people in this room today. Members, family members, friends, investigators past and present, and thank our media outlets for the coverage. We do have some new information on an older case that we'd like to share with you this morning. I'm going to immediately turn it over to Chief Gregory Benton. He's going to share with you the press release and then give you an opportunity to know some of the others who have worked so hard in this case throughout the years. Chief Benton.
On September 26, 1981, the Dothan Police Department received a report of a robbery and shooting at 3033 Reeves Street. Police responded to the fuel station, which was the Northview Amoco at that time. Upon arrival, first responders found 45-year-old Ernest Russell Douglas suffering from a gunshot wound. Mr. Douglas was transported to a local hospital where he succumbed to his injuries on October 8, 1981. On the evening of the incident, the Criminal Investigative Division and Department of Forensic Sciences responded and processed the extensive crime scene. Police worked tirelessly following leads, processing evidence, and conducting interviews. Despite the investigative team's efforts, a suspect was unable to be identified, and over the years, the case became cold. In March of 2010, the Dothan Police Department formed a cold case unit to review unsolved homicides. Officers from patrol, investigations, and narcotics joined together to create a diverse unit that would benefit from the various strengths and experiences of its members. Evidence in this case was resubmitted to the Department of Forensic Sciences for analysis. Due to the advancements in technology, investigators had high hopes of obtaining a new investigative lead in the case. In December 2010, police received a CODIS hit from the submitted evidence, which identified black male Nathaniel Dennis as a potential suspect. The cold case unit turned their investigation to Dennis. Investigators learned that Dennis was currently serving a prison sentence in Virginia. In January 2011, investigators traveled to Sussex County, Virginia, where Dennis was interviewed. While investigators were in Virginia, a DNA standard was taken from Dennis for verification. The evidence was also sent to the Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences. In March 2011, the results from that submission were returned to police confirming the DNA belonged to Dennis. In April 2011, the case was presented to the Houston County Grand Jury, which indicted Nathaniel Dennis on May 4, 2011 for capital murder during the commission of a robbery. The Dothan Police Department would like to thank Houston Henry County District Attorney Doug Valeska, the Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences, the Virginia Department of Corrections, and the Sussex County, Virginia Sheriff's Office for their assistance with this case. Nathaniel Dennis, black male, 57 years of age, has been indicted on capital murder charges and the commission of a robbery. Let me say that before I turn this over to questions, that we still are going to have to take this to court, so the amount of information that we're going to be able to give out as far as the details of the investigation will be very limited today. I want to thank the Douglas family for being here today. I know this is an important day for you, as it is for the Dothan Police Department, that we could do this. I'd like to thank the investigators that worked this case originally. It's a testament to their way that they handled the evidence. You know, little did they know back then the technology that would be here for us today to use to solve this case. And we have one of the investigators here that was the original investigator, which is Jackie Mendham. He's Sergeant retired. And Sergeant Mendham, thank you for your efforts in this.
Yes, sir.
I also want to thank the investigative team with our department today that when they revisited this, that they could take the evidence that they had and get an indictment. So at this time, what I'm going to do is turn it over to Will Glover, the sergeant and the person who is in charge of our violent crimes unit.
Any questions? Would you have solved this or found this man if it weren't for DNA?
It would have been possible if somebody had come forth from the community. We could have gotten there, obviously, but we got there a lot faster and quicker with the technology of DNA.
Can you talk about what kind of evidence was left at the scene that you obtained the DNA from?
No, it's not at this point. It's just DNA evidence, all we're going to say.
What's the man in prison for?
He's currently in prison in Virginia for attempted murder and robbery.
Do you know how much he has left of that sentence? Will you be able to bring him here very soon?
He's serving a 634-year sentence.
Oh.
But the district attorney is currently working with the prosecutor's office in Virginia to get that worked out for him to be transported back down here to stand trial.
And that was for attempted murder and robbery?
Yes.
Has he given any type of statement or?
We have interviewed him. He did give a statement. He did not confess to the murder, but he has given us a statement.
Was he living in Dothan at the time of the death, or
Yes,
do you know why he was in Dothan?
He was originally from Dothan. He lived in Dothan until the early 90s. He did have an extensive criminal history in Dothan, and even from the statement, he admitted to being here at the time of the murder in Dothan area.
So if he's found guilty on this murder charge, where is he going to be held? I guess indefinitely.
That'll be one of the legal questions for Mr. Valeska to sort out. That's what he's working on now, trying to figure out how Virginia's going to turn him over to us and all that. So he'll have to essentially do both sentences. He's convicted here also, so that's a question for him.
It's not every day you hear of a 30-year-old cold case being solved. You hear about it on TV happening somewhere else, but it's never really hit you at home. How good does it make you feel for you and your team that this is solved 30 years after it happened?
Oh, it's a great feeling, and we've talked to the family several times and brought them in, and it's been a lot of work, and Sergeant Beeson was actually the one that helped spearhead this, and like the chief said, there were several members, there were about 10 of us that sat down and started reviewing several of these cold cases, because the main thing is these cases never go away. We never stop working them. We've looked at all the homicides, unsolved homicides in Dothan, and we've sent, this is not the first one, it won't be the last one that we've submitted evidence, due to the advances in technology, but it's a great feeling for the police department.
Would you speak of how important forensics is in solving this, and we're standing to lose our forensics lab in Dothan?
Well, forensics played a vital role in this case, and even the evidence was submitted back in the 90s. The same evidence was submitted, but just the technology was not there that it is now to get anything off of it. So, yeah, DNA is very important in this case.
I don't really know the answer, but this happened 30 years ago. DNA doesn't go bad, does it? I mean, once it's a dried blood sample, it's still admissible in court. There's no expiration date. Proper procedures were dealt with when you're handling it.
Can you tell us about what you mean by a CODIS hit, and how that's significant in this case for those of us that aren't involved in law enforcement?
Okay, CODIS stands for Convicted Offender DNA Index System, and what that is, it's a national database that has, every time you're convicted of a felony, you go to prison, your DNA is taken, and it's entered into this national database, and there's currently over 8 million samples in there right now. And that's when you send evidence to forensics to be examined, they run it against those 8 million samples in the database for comparison.
So, because he was serving time in prison, you're able to, his DNA was already in the system or something?
Correct.
Okay.
You might have said this. Are you submitting DNA for all your cold case murders that you have, if you've recovered it?
We have submitted on 4 right now, and there'll be more, I'm sure. It's a case-by-case scenario. If there's evidence to be submitted, yes.
With DNA, it's your best chance of catching these people after years?
Again, we can solve them other ways with community's help and other outlets, but obviously the DNA does help.
So can you tell us about what this means with the importance of evidence collection at the scene? Obviously, this original evidence from 30 years ago, you were still able to submit, even this long a time later, for DNA evidence.
That's correct. And like the chief mentioned, Sergeant Bendham and them did a great job collecting the evidence and preserving it back in '81 when the murder happened, and that does play a big role in making sure your evidence is maintained correctly. And obviously at the time they had no idea that DNA would be around 30 years later, but they did a good job processing the scene and maintaining the evidence.
I was curious if any of the family members would like to talk a little bit about their feelings today and how they feel after 30 years.
Well, this is Tim Douglas, Mr. Douglas' son.
We can just say it's a great day. We've been praying for this for 29 years. So we're excited, but it ain't over. But we're very happy.
Did you ever think this day would happen?
No, we I can tell you for years ago that I pretty much figured this case would never be solved. But I do believe now we have the person. Sure do.
Mr. Douglas, we can tell by the way you're acting that, does the hurt ever stop or go away?
No. No, it does not.
Mr. Douglas, do you think this may help you and your family maybe get a little bit closer to getting that closure often people may get when things like this occur?
Oh yeah. It's satisfying, but it's a sad situation too, because it's just something that shouldn't happen. And we certainly would like to appreciate all these investigators for their hard work through the years. Doug Valeska, he was right there from the very beginning, and we appreciate everything.
How hard was it over these 30 years, 3 decades, to hold on to faith, to hold on to hope, to hold on to the thought this would ever happen?
You just have to pray and hold on to your faith. That's what we've done. And we've still got a long road to go until we get the conviction, but we're still praying for that. Certainly are. And again, there's investigators that's retired. Some have passed away that has worked on this case, and we're very grateful. Very, very grateful.
Are you from Dothan, Mr. Douglas?
Yeah, been here all my life.
You're not the only family to be going through something like this. You have a message for those out there, similar cases?
Well, we just ask them to stay strong, get up every day believing it's going to happen. You know, we certainly, our heart goes out to those folks too, because we know how they feel. And we pray for the same day that they have, that they can have the same opportunity. Certainly do.
How old were you, Mr. Douglas, when your father was killed?
I had just turned 18 years old the day before. He lived 12 days, and he was buried on my little sister's birthday. So it's definitely a hard time for us.
How many children were there?
There's 4 of us. Anything else?
Thank you.
I think we're good. Thank you, Mr. Douglas.
Before we close, I'd like to say that the Dothan Police Department is very committed to these cold cases. These gentlemen to my left are very committed. They work hard on them every day besides the other cases that they have, and we will strive to solve all these cold cases. Are we going to solve all of them? No, but we will definitely try to solve all of them. But I just want to thank you for being here today, and this is a great day. Thank you.
Not there yet.
Thank you.